Good morning, County Council, to all those who are virtual today, as well as in the chamber. We are glad you are safe wherever you are. And at this point in time, I would like to call to order this January 22nd, 2026 County Council meeting. And if you are able, please rise and join us in the singing of O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. At this point in time, Madam Clerk, could you please conduct the roll call?
Councillor Mackey.
Present.
Councillor McKay.
Here.
Councillor Carlton. Councillor Pringle. Councillor McQueen is en route this morning. Councillor Nielsen.
Excited to be here.
Councillor Patterson.
Present.
Councillor Dickert.
Present.
Councillor Kentner. Councillor Keaveney. Councillor Body is on his way as well. Councillor Gregg. Councillor Milne. Councillor Dobreen. Warden Matrosovs.
Present.
Councillor Bornignon.
Present.
Councillor Echoes. Councillor Hutchinson.
Present.
We have all members in attendance this morning with the exception of Councillors Body and McQueen.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and we'll be advised when those county council members join us as they are able. So let us begin by acknowledging with respect that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people known as the Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. We give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, traditional keepers of these lands and waters since time immemorial. In our south lies the traditional territories of the Six Nations of the Grand River and the Haudenosaunee. We are dedicated to Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and friendship with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. And with that, we will move on to item 5, which is our adoption of the minutes. It's recommended that the minutes of the County Council meeting and the Committee of the Whole meeting dated January 8th, 2026, and the resolutions contained therein be adopted as presented. May I ask for a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Dobreen, seconded by Councillor Mackey. Any discussion? Seeing no hands online or here in the chamber. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we have the Long-Term Committee of Management minutes dated January 15th, 2026. And we have, Madam Clerk, do you wish for me to read that out? Okay. Okay, so it is recommended that the Long-Term Care Committee Committee of Management meeting minutes dated January 15th, 2026 be adopted as presented with the resolutions that have been published and contained herein in our agenda. May I ask for a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Carlton, seconded by Councillor Keaveney. It's now on the floor, so I welcome. Good morning, Director Cornell. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and good snowy morning, County Council. I'm here just to provide a summary and a highlight of key discussions and decisions from the January 21st meeting of the Long-Term Care Committee of Management. So the key highlights, the leadership elections were held at the beginning of the meeting, and congratulations and with gratitude. Thank you to Councillor Mackey, who is chair, and Vice Chair, Councillor Patterson. The director's update was provided, and there was an overview of additional ministry funding announcements, particularly around attracting and retaining nurses, updates on education programs, reporting requirements, and cultural placement model changes in legislation. Had a little discussion about universal masking that was implemented in our 3 homes on December 19th for staff and residents as an added precaution. And I would encourage everyone to click on the link in the report around our PrEP LTC student placement program, the Color It Coach program, which was featured in Ontario CLRI's annual report. The operational report was for the period of October 15th to December 14th, highlighting that all 3 of our homes have transitioned to Inter-RAI assessment system. Vaccine rollout was completed for staff and residents. Good discussion and overview around compliance orders and inspection findings. Karen Kraus gave an update on the operational readiness around the redevelopment of Rockwood Terrace, and that is going to become a regular update as part of the operational report. And we had a good, I always encourage us to share a Color It story. And so there was a story around men's programming at Lee Manor. And then there was a verbal update that Lee Manor has been chosen as one of 15 homes province-wide to implement a dementia care program based on the Color It Your Way philosophy. And so we are working away on getting that going. The final report was around planning for Rockwood Terrace and Grey Gables. Committee approved a $198,000 budget from the one-time reserve to develop a comprehensive background report. This report will inform future decisions on the current Rockwood Terrace site post-transition and what opportunities or options there are around additional beds at Grey Gables to meet growing demand. Colliers project leaders engaged via a single source agreement to lead this work. And the final report would be expected fall of 2026 and will be presented to Committee of the Whole for decision making. And there was a closed session discussing staff matters related to personal information. And if there's questions about that, we'll of course need to go into closed session.
Okay, so are there any questions for Director Cornell at this point in time? Councillor Gregg.
I guess I'd just like to learn a little bit more about the scope of the project. I'm always hesitant against to support sole sourcing. I think there's a snowball's chance in the center of the planet that we are going to redevelop Rockwood Terrace in anything resembling long-term care again. So could you explain to me why that seems to be part of the discussion? We should be probably just walking away from that and we'll find alternative adaptive reuses for the property, as opposed to it seems like it's going to remain in the discussion for long-term care. But I think actually there's not a chance that's going to be an outcome. Doesn't matter what the report says. We won't be having 2 long-term care homes in Durham. Secondly, would this report consider the current subsidy cost per bed that the county currently has for long-term care and essentially create a pathway to demonstrating that we can lower that cost per bed versus the continual escalation of that cost per bed? What kind of information can we get back that would consider that important component?
Thank you. And through you, Madam Warden, I'll start and then I'll hand it over to Deputy CAO Lovely. So with regards to your first question around long-term, the existing Rockwood site being considered for long-term care, why is that part of the discussion? And I'll give my thoughts on that, and then we'll see if Niall has other things to add to it. The Ministry of Long-Term Care, if you recall, sent out 2 surveys. And so the Ministry of Long-Term Care is kind of driving that discussion. And so it would be helpful for us to be able to reflect one way or the other, whether it's a viable option or not a viable option. And so the scope of work would help provide evidence to that, to whatever conclusion we come to. The second question, I'm not sure if that's part of the scope, although pro formas have historically been part of the scope of this type of consultation work in determining what are the opportunities for the use of space or buildings. Historically, consideration on whether we can build it, but then can we operate it, has always been part of those discussions. But I'll pass it over to Niall, if that's.
Through you, Madam Warden. Good morning. Good morning, members of council. Just to build on Jen's answer, the scope of work at Rockwood, the existing Rockwood, is well beyond its potential future use as a long-term care home. So we're going to be looking at its future use potentially for rental space, its future use for potentially for affordable housing units or for housing units full stop. We're looking at its potential use for its potential value as an asset that could be marketed on the open market, either as a lease property or for sale. So it's a valuation of what we could expect if county decided to get out of that business. And just to build on the future use case in respect of long-term care, when the ministry gave us a survey a few months ago, they certainly introduced the notion that they may want to activate it as a long-term care facility themselves without our involvement through perhaps a private operator. And so again, it's to provide the information if the ministry comes back with requests for further details in regards to Rockwood Terrace. Certainly one of the pieces of work that we'd be expecting to get back from Colliers is some pro forma information. Obviously, that will be subject to significant further work if council decides to go down any particular course of action. But it would look at the cost of various different operating scenarios at Grey Gables. It would also look at the potential cost scenarios of any operations that Grey County would be involved in at Rockwood Terrace, be that long-term care or an alternative use. So we've kept the scope very broad for Rockwood Terrace, everything from us not owning that site at all to us operating something on that site and pretty much everything in between, so that if and when council wants to have conversations around the future of that site, we've got the information. And for Grey Gables, again, keeping the scope very, very open so that we're able to respond when the ministry comes back, and also able to bring back information as part of the 2027 budget forecast for council to consider at that time.
And that last sentence kind of hit upon my follow-up. Why is this so important now? We just passed the bylaw approving the budget at the last meeting. I hate drawing upon one-time funding reserve in instances like this just because it's there. Whereas I wonder, where was this item 6 weeks ago when we were talking budget for 2026? It was not part of the discussion. So I get the province's demands. It's very evident in the reports. I tend to think of Councillor Milne's comments about the province taking those beds back, and I tend to agree with him. I don't think that's going to occur. Why is this so time critical to do it now, as opposed to us having a discussion about what makes it into the 2027 budget, as opposed to drawing it from one-time funding reserve because we have it?
So through you, Madam Warden, good questions. And the fact that we couldn't get this in front of the budget for 2026 is regrettable. We had those surveys, if you remember, when we were very deep into the 2026 budget planning process, weren't able to advance that conversation and get that number ready for the budget. We're respecting council's direction to have this information in advance of the 2027 budget, and that process will be seeing its first iterations in front of council probably in May and early summer. And so this is about a 7-month body of work, we've been informed. And so we're going to be running quite hard to get this information in front of the budget. So there's one of the pieces of pressure. The second piece of pressure, at risk of giving away some of Randy's updates from Roma a little later, is we had good conversation with the Ministry of Long-Term Care when we were at Roma in the last week or so, and they did provide some indication they are going to be responding to those surveys. We don't know what that response will look like at this point in time, but they are going to be responding to those surveys, and they are looking to activate new beds across the province as quickly as possible. So we're anticipating this will become a very current conversation through 2026. And as I say, the timeline to get this in front of you for 2027 would necessitate some fairly early action right now. So yes, I would quite agree. It's regrettable we didn't have the numbers in front of you in time for budget 2026, but that's just simply a factor of timelines.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to the Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and thank you very much for the report, or the minutes rather there. If I'm selling my farm, I don't engage a company and pay them to tell me what my farm is worth or what it could be worth. I engage a reputable realtor to determine that on their own, and then they will tell me what the property is worth. And generally there's no cost. That's part of built into their commission. So I don't understand why we're paying somebody to do that work when normally that is their expense and it's taken out of their commission. The other thing is, if the ministry is so hell-bent on developing new beds, why didn't we at Rockwood, why didn't they provide the funding for us to redevelop the current Rockwood in the first place, rather than take the decision and chew up a large part of our repayment capacity to build a new facility? I just do not, I understand the need, the desperate need almost for new long-term beds across the province. But I think we're being dragged into a huge expense, potentially, for Grey County to satisfy somebody's political promises writ large across the province. So I have some concerns. I have some questions, more questions than that, but I'll leave it at that for now. I just do not understand, and I fear for where we're headed.
I don't think we need to back away.
I think I do.
Thank you for those good questions, and I'll start through you, Madam Warden. So first question around the need for going outside for external support. There are many options for the existing building, for example. And because we have such an engaged county council and population, I worry that I wouldn't be able on my own to be able to answer all of the questions related to the varying options with good confidence and lots of evidence. So having an external partner where this is the work that they do. So one option is assisted living, and what does that look like? Another option is a private-public partnership, and what does that look like? I know nothing of those things. Those are just two examples off the top of my head in terms of ensuring that this council has as much information as possible to make a decision that makes the most sense for the financially, for the people that live in the community, and looking forward into the future. So that's my 2 cents on that question. The second question, I forget, second question. Oh, the iterations, the funding. So there has been a series of iterations of the capital funding in very quick succession, over 2 years. And so the current Rockwood rebuild, we're in the middle capital funding program. We're not in the newest, most recent, that's much more robust. We advocated strongly to be considered to be able to be in that new construction funding. We're fortunate we aren't in the first iteration, which was less construction funding. And so this government has been listening to the advocacy. Unfortunately, there's still barriers. So they've been making improved iterations of construction capital and capital funding programs. But there are still barriers that once you're locked into one, you're not eligible. or the newest one? You have something to add?
To you, Madam Warden, I might add one thing to that, the mix. Again, I'd echo, good question. When we applied for funding for Rockwood Terrace, and indeed constant across all of the funding streams, capital funding streams available in the long-term care sector right now, it's for the creation of Class A level beds. Rockwood Terrace, as you know, had Class C level beds, so there was no option. We could have at that point said, we'll close Rockwood Terrace down as a Class C facility and rehab it as a Class A facility. That would have obviously been quite disruptive, both to Grey County and obviously to the residents, and wasn't an option that was considered when planning for the new Rockwood. So the work that Colliers will help guide us through would be to understand what Rockwood, the existing Rockwood Terrace, could look like and what the cost could be associated with upgrading it to Class A level beds from its current Class C level. And so that could be that they can't get 100 in there. It's a smaller number. It might not be that it's financially feasible at all. And all of this gives us the power to go back to the province and say, we're quite happy to do this, but it's 100% on your dime. And so this allows council that information to be able to have those conversations with a full suite of information behind it.
Through you, Warden, just to clarify in terms of the Rockwood, at the time of looking at options, we did look at the option of redeveloping the existing Rockwood. At that time, based on costs, it wasn't, and based on the current construction of the existing Rockwood, it wasn't, there was no cost benefit analysis to be able to identify that made the most sense at that time. At that time, then we were then on a path of looking at a new long-term care home based on, again, the requirements from the province at that time. As has been noted, I think the province is looking for all options in order to address the level of need that's going to be required for long-term care homes across this province. Hence the surveys that were put out towards the end of last year, where we had to do a very quick response times to those surveys. We provided the information to them at that time based on the direction from this council, and we provided those responses. We know they're still actively interested in looking at all options as it relates to long-term care home beds. And that was confirmed, as noted by Deputy CEO at our long-term care delegation meeting, and in speaking with some of the staff, that they are looking at all options because they're trying to address the needs and the continued growing needs as it relates to long-term care homes. Whether or not that option is now indicated, the breadth of options that we're proposing in order to provide as much information to this council, as well as to the province, as well as to any other private operator that may be interested in us potentially selling the home, if that's what is the direction. We need that information in order to be able to make for this council to make a decision on what's next. Is it based on the various options? Could it be an assisted living facility? Could it be a combined assisted living facility and long-term care home? Could it be affordable rental units? Could it be us operating it? Could it be somebody else operating it and we're selling it? Are we leasing the building to somebody else? A number of different iterations, a number of different options that we want to explore to be able to provide this information to this council in order to determine what's the best use of that building going forward. Same on the Grey Gables side. In order to inform, based on the direction of council, to consider other options in 2027, there's a large body of work to be able to advance to identify what are those options and what are the costs of those options, should this council be interested in pursuing any of those options in the future. And so that's where we're recommending to proceed with this body of work. That'll at least provide us with the information to be able to either decide to move forward with those options, either as part of the 2027 budget or in future budgets. But that will be up to either this council or the next term of council in terms of what to do with those two facilities.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go on to Councillor Kentner next.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Warden. I just sort of hitchhiking on the first comment. I just don't quite understand, and maybe I've missed something, but if the province is dictating that the scope of the report needs to include the possible rehabilitation of the former Rockwood Terrace, why aren't they sharing the cost of the report?
Through you, Warden, that is something that we haven't requested, but if that is something that council would like us to ask about, if whether or not there are any funds in order to support that, then we can pursue that. Again, that is one potential option of a breadth of options that we want to explore. I don't know what the exact cost would be just to explore that particular one option. The bulk of work to get to exploring those options will probably be the majority of the work in terms of what's the existing condition of the building, et cetera, in order to determine what options are available to that building. So it's probably a small portion if we really were to break it down. But if council's interested in us asking if there's some funding to be able to support this project, we're happy to make that request.
Okay, thank you. And the motion on the floor is to receive the minutes as, to adopt the minutes as provided. So if there is an inclination that way, we'll need an amendment to the main motion. I'd like to just carry on with the discussion before we look to any amendments. So I'm going to go to Councillor Eccles next, who I see has a hand raised high.
Do we still have an asset management plan in Carey County? Are there long-term care homes in that asset management plan? So we should already have an idea of what the value of that is. That's just strange, because I've always had a slight bugaboo about how much time we spent on the province behest. They have asset management plans that were so robust to know our infrastructure. And yet to get a determination of what is left of Rockwood Terrace or Grey Gables in this whole asset thing, we're spending $58,000 to Collier. My second question, is we're spending $58,000. What's the other $140,000 worth? Where does that come in? Because we're looking at $198,000 of the budget. Is there a few public meetings that Collier's is going to have on this? Is there a comment further?
So through you, Madam Warden, and thank you for the question. So Colliers is project managing this. So they bring with them the experience they have of already working with us on Rockwood. So they already have a firm local footprint. They also have the contacts across the industry of long-term care. They have a specialism in the healthcare side of things and long-term care. So they are very familiar with the costs, the nature, the programs that the province offers, and the potential grants that are there in terms of long-term care. They also have significant experience in the construction sector and the real estate sector. So what Colliers are bringing is that experience. They're going to be the ones that are going to be doing the heavy lifting from developing the report and pulling the expertise together. The balance is what Colliers have advised us we should be putting to one side for the subsequent tenders. So this isn't a wholly sole sourced piece of work. We're simply asking for support to sole source to Colliers to project manage the work for us. There would then be at least 2 tenders for real estate work around the valuation of the various different scenarios that have been articulated this morning. And the second body of work is to bring in engineers, mechanical engineers, design engineers, architectural engineers to undertake looking at those various different scenarios, how much is required. We know that the fabric of the existing Rockwood Terrace, the outside walls, are in good condition. We also know that all the mechanical, most of the electrical will need completely redone in any scenario. And so they'll be bringing in design teams, architectural teams, mechanical engineering teams to understand what various different scenarios of reuse at Rockwood Terrace could cost if they were decided to go down. And again, that work is going to be needed to help inform any value or appraisals that are around in regards to the Rockwood Terrace. We're not simply looking at this as a sell the site or lease the site option. We're trying to understand what potential uses that building could be made in the future, and the balance of that is to tender for those bodies of work. And so what similarly to how they have with the existing Rockwood, Colliers would be developing the tenders, the RFPs, the specifications to work, and issuing those on behalf of the county. They would be coming back for award. And that's the balance of the budget that we're looking to set up, alongside of a small contingency in case things the costs are not as Colliers are predicted.
Okay, so the asset management plan we do have, and it looks at the structure of the building. It says when you're going to need to replace things. It says what the long-term projection of it. But the focus here is its value alters according to its potential use. So this information would provide us with that so that we could potentially sell it to another entity with a higher or lower value, depending on what what it might turn into. Is that correct?
So through you, Madam Warden, yes, what we're doing is we're doing a very comprehensive set of scenario planning for both sites and trying to forecast out on both sides. When we had the conversation, and as council directed for further information, we had the conversation in regards to the surveys that did come in. We did have extensive conversation about the various different routes and options that could be available at both sites. And so this is a very, very broad scope of scenario planning. When we actually laid it out, I think we got to about 13 or 14 different scenarios that we wanted to be explored. And so this is a comprehensive set of scenario planning, and then each one hopefully will have all the pieces of information to allow council to make informed decisions should they need to in the future.
Okay, thank you. We do have another hand raised for discussion, or we'll need at this point in time if there's an interest in an amendment to the main motion, because the main motion includes the resolution number 5, which talks about the cost of 54,000. It does not refer to asking the province to share in that cost. So we'll go to Councillor Gregg next.
Thank you for indulging one last question, Warden. I do have the committee report open here, and I was going to ask the $95,000 for architectural and engineering firm. Do we anticipate coming out of this with the effectively design-ready drawings for an additional wing? Like, is this a 50-50 balance? Is this 90-10 that we're going to have build-ready drawings for Grey Gables for a new wing? Secondly, it's a study. So is a 20% contingency a little excessive when we are actually not talking about something here that is construction phase with a ton of unknowns? This is just simply a consulting firm, and we're gathering information. So 20% strikes me as a little heavy in terms of a contingency at this phase.
So through you, Madam Warden, the 20% contingency is generous, I'll grant you. And my very firm hope would be that we will not need to touch any contingency. And if we do need to touch contingency, it wouldn't be to that extent. In terms of your first part of the question, what we get out of this is I'm anticipating we get Class D costing. So very, very high level costing for each one of the scenarios and schematics. They would not be full design drawings, but they would be site layouts, site plans, and they would be clearly indicative of the types of things that would be required on both properties. So it gets us a significant way down the way. It does not get us to shovel-ready plans by any stretch of imagination.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to look around the room. If I don't see any hands up, we will vote on the motion the way that has been presented. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands virtually. I'm not seeing any hands here in the chamber. So I'll therefore call the question as is. All those in favor? And opposed? Okay, so that motion is carried, Madam Clerk. All right, thank you. That allows us to move on to, thank you very much, Director Cornell, and to the Deputy CAO and CAO for your input on that. Next, we have item 5C for the closed session minutes. It's recommended that the closed session long-term care committee of management meeting minutes dated January 15th, 2026 be adopted as provided. May I ask for a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Carleton. Oh, seconded by Councillor Patterson online. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. We do not have any closed meeting matters at this point in time, nor reports. That allows us to move on to our bylaws. It's recommended that bylaws 5265-26 and 5266-26 and 5267-26 be introduced and be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the warden and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Number one, 5265-26, a bylaw to enter into an amendment agreement with Grey Sauble Conservation Authority. Number two, 5266-26, a bylaw to authorize the warden and clerk to execute a contribution agreement with Lutheran Social Services and Lutheran Outreach Ministries. And number three, 5267-26, a bylaw to confirm all the actions and proceedings of the council. May I ask for a mover and a seconder? Got a move by Councillor Bourniel, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. It's now on the floor for discussion. Seeing no hands, all those in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. News and celebrations. We have a few items here, and you'll note that in our committee, the whole agenda, we've actually reserved a place for a Roma update. So we'll save on any kind of information with regards to the Roma programming and the activities that we are all doing down there for the committee of the whole. But we do have a couple of items that are fit for news and celebrations in this section. Now, the first one that we are going to mention is that we do have our SOS outreach vehicle here present today. It made it through the snow. It is parked here out back, ready to be able to be provided as a tour for the council members, and council and staff that are here to have a look at it. And we will be doing that at our lunch break. Director McNabb, did you want to speak to it all at this point in time, or save it for the tour? Okay, all right. So he'll be able to address questions and talk about the phenomenal resource that we have parked right here this morning, so we can have a look. Next, although it did happen at Roma, it is something worthy of note and celebration. I'm going to look to Director Taylor to talk to us about the age-friendly community recognition that was received at Roma.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Warden, and good morning, Madam Warden, members of council, and those that might be tuning in today. So I'm pleased to share some good news. I'd like to think most news that planning shares is good news, but this is particularly good news. So Grey County is one of multiple communities presented with an Age-Friendly Communities Recognition Award, and this was at a special ceremony hosted by the Ontario Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility on the Sunday evening of Roma at the Sheridan Centre, and of course it coincided with the Roma conference. I believe both the warden and Director Cornell were able to attend the ceremony, so thank you to both for attending on Grey's behalf there. But just a little bit of background on Grey's age-friendly journey in this regard. So the county first launched its age-friendly community strategy and action plan in 2021, and this was after receiving funding from the province as part of an inclusive communities grant. The county, municipalities, and community partners all continue to implement the action plan that was endorsed by council. We actually have a progress report coming up on the action plan in the next few months, which is going to be presented to county council and shared more widely with the community. The plan itself focuses on the 8 dimensions or 8 realms of an age-friendly community, and it looks to support all residents regardless of age and making livable communities that are accessible for 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds and everyone in between. The county is part of a global network, the Ontario Age-Friendly Communities Network, as well as a member of the World Health Organization's Global Age-Friendly Network. The county locally here hosts our Age-Friendly Communities Committee, and that consists of both municipal partners as well as community stakeholders in that regard. Grey County, as you're aware, also leads the administration of a joint municipal accessibility advisory committee, and this is supporting the great work of Kathy Nuno of our office. So with this recognition, staff would like to thank County Council first and foremost for their leadership on this topic and for striking out on this journey with us. In addition, I would like to thank the following planning staff who've been involved in this project both currently and in the past. So Cassandra Dillman, Becky Hillier, Derek McMurdy, and past staff Stephanie Lacey Avon and Hiba Hussein in that regard. The work has also been tremendously supported by all the different departments in Grey and a number of your municipalities and municipal departments in that regard. With respect to our own county departments, it's been tremendously supported by long-term care. So certainly like to thank Director Cornell and her team in that regard. And finally, I'd just like to say, also congratulate the town of Hanover, who received a similar recognition at this ceremony. Hanover has really led the charge here locally on age-friendly communities and struck out even well ahead of the county. So kudos to Hanover for their leadership in that regard. And again, thank you to County Council for the support in all of this project to date. But happy to take any questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, and indeed, Hanover, the mayor of Hanover and the deputy mayor were there in attendance to receive that award as well. Were there any Director Taylor's put it out there if there are any questions about that item? But we will be hearing more, as you said, though there will be an update. Excellent. It was indeed wonderful to celebrate. And I should mention in the context, it was only 69 communities across all of Ontario that received that award that evening. So it was nice to see that we were celebrated twofold, both with Hanover and here as the larger county community. Next, we have the Community Safety and Wellbeing Survey news. So I'll look to Director Shaw for that.
Good morning, County Council. Just wanted to make everybody aware that the Grey Bruce Community Safety and Wellbeing survey is now available. The survey is inviting all residents to participate in the region-wide survey. It launched on Monday and it runs until April. It is available on our website, Bruce County's website, and also the Community Safety and Wellbeing website. The survey allows community members to share their experiences, priorities, and concerns on issues such as housing, mental health, community belonging, crime, and access to services. Any feedback that is gathered will directly influence the next 5 years of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, which will be 2026 to 2031. There's also paper copies and accessible copies available at libraries, municipal offices, and Alexis Cook, who is the coordinator, will be attending. I think she's got about 40 events that she's attending in the next 3 months to also promote the survey. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions there? Not seeing any hands. Okay, you've given us good options on how to access that survey. Thank you very much. And I think I'd just like to lead on before we open it to the rest of council to share any news and celebrations. One item that happens traditionally the week before Roma is the Ontario Marine Chamber of Commerce Week. And at that event, at that week, there are lots of meetings going on with that whole industry. But one of the things that I'd like to highlight is each and every year, Georgian College is featured at the event that happens at the end of that week because of the Georgian students who are acknowledged for their top rankings. So each year of the marine engineering students, they pick out a top member who has excelled in their studies here, and that is the incredible thing that each year I'm invited as the warden to go down and sit at the Georgian College table, and I have a chance to sit down beside these young people who have embarked on this career in the marine and shipping industry, and they are coming from all over Ontario or even sometimes all over the world. It's of global reputation. And also some of our very own local students as well. And wherever they hail from, well, they're here for all of that training. It's happening right here in the heart of Grey County, right here in Owen Sound at the Marine Training and Research Center. So however they came here, they're our students until the day that they graduate. And it is fantastic to see how in demand they are when they graduate because of the quality of the program and the quality of the candidates and how lively and engaged they are, how excited they are to be in that. So it's a great shout out to those who have made that choice and who are venturing through and excelling so well, but also a good message for all of us to share in our communities that if our young people are looking to explore an industry and looking to explore a career field, there's one where you can get top-notch training right here in our backyard. So my congratulations to the students of this year, and it's a wonderful legacy that we get to see each and every year coming from Grey County. And with that, I'd like to put it out then, if there are other news and celebrations. Okay, I'm going to start with Councillor Nielsen online.
Thank you very much, Warden Matrosoff. I just want to bring County Council's attention. There is a public meeting tonight in Grey Highlands and Markdale at the Anne's United Church being put on by the nonprofit group AHI, which stands for Affordable Housing in Grey Highlands. And they've put a purchase in at the Old Markdale Hospital. So they just have a public meeting tonight about their hopes and plans. So I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to that. If the weather is good and we can make it, hopefully it'll go on, and we'll be able to see some people out there.
Excellent, thank you. And I guess everybody should be advised to check in with the organization prior to heading out, just to make sure there doesn't need to be a cancellation. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Dobreen next.
Good morning, Warden, County Council. I just wanted to let everyone know that the Junction Community Initiatives will be holding on February 1st a opening ceremony for Black History Month. It'll be held at the Dundalk United Church on Main Street there in Dundalk at 3 p.m. And
Sorry, I cut off mic there, and it's free. That was the last of the message. Thank you. And anything else online or here in the chamber? I imagine by the next time we meet with each other, there'll be lots of family day activities to share, etc. So this sounds good for this time of year. All right. So with that, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Got it moved by Councillor Pringle and seconded by Councillor McKay. Any discussion? All those in favor? And this council is adjourned. We'll give a moment and for technology to switch over before starting committee of the whole.